All right. So let me just preface everything I'm about to say with this, that God will save his people, and that what the church is called to do is to preach the law and the gospel and administer the sacraments for the salvation of
Yes.
God's people.
Yeah.
So let's just start there. But man, there are so many people, to illustrate the problem, that say something like this. Well, if the church was the church, then America would look different. That's what they say. As though the calling of the church is to transform the culture. The calling of the church is to transform the country.
Yeah.
This geopolitical entity, in our context anyway, that is the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to talk about losing your first love and throwing clutter on top of the gospel and hiding your light under a bushel. Think about how many Christians in America, or how many people, as they think about Christianity in America, associate it with the moral majority in the Republican Party.
Right.
Like, it's an absolute categorical confusion of what in the world we're even called to do.
Yeah.
And so I think my encouragement to the church, if like, in light of all of the things that you mentioned, is like, can we stop making such a big deal out of all of these peripheral things that are at best a wisdom decision, that Christians might have the same set of variables and come to a different conclusion about what to do politically or whatever.
Right.
It's like, can we just stop talking about that and actually preach Christ crucified for sinners?
Yeah.
And let the Lord save his people, and then encourage the saints in their vocation to go love and serve their neighbor, and, to use the gifts and the talents and all the things that they have to help better their fellow man as they're able. But let's not confuse that with the mission of the church, which is about the forgiveness of sins and the imputation of righteousness.
Yes.
And eternal life, right? So
yeah, that's so good. And I do want to just say too, it happens on both sides if we're talking politically. And I think that's like, I know the conversation about Christian nationalism is very important, and it's an issue, but I see it on the other side just as much, where all of a sudden you're in response to that, which is good. Like, let's respond to that. We're getting this moralism that is still very political and still based on political decisions only, and is not the gospel. It's completely lacking from, it's set up as loving your neighbor, but it's not. It's not. So,
if I get super brief comment, the reason that's the case, you're exactly right. We talked about pietism earlier, this kind of inward looking thing. There's also a movement that has greatly shaped American Christianity called Revivalism, which is all about, this conversion experience and then the moral transformation of life thereafter. But pietism and revivalism both emphasize transformation at the individual and societal level. And so you can have that kind of transformational emphasis on the left or the right, but it comes from the same place.
Yeah.
Like, you're still missing the
helpful
point, right? That the thrust of the church's mission is to preach Christ for us, rather than to be concerned with activism either way. Whatever you think is good in terms of the pursuit of justice, that's fine. And it's not that we shouldn't talk about these things, but we shouldn't make them the mission of the church.
That's right.
Absolutely.